Phantom fans? My name is Sam Olmstead. His name is Justin Irwin. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. This episode is brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. For office locations and appointment information, check out advancedpodiatry.com. So thank you everyone for tuning in to this special playoff preview episode. So Justin, the 21-22 regular season is in the books, and after COVID and, well, last season, the Phantoms are not only back in the playoffs, but hosting round one at the Covelli Center.
Yeah, fingers crossed. This will be the first of several series. You know, things are looking good at this point, and obviously after the past two seasons, we'll take what we can get.
Now, this week, the Madison Capitals will be traveling to Youngstown for this first round matchup, and later on in the show, we'll take a look at exactly who is traveling on that bus. But first, the Phantoms have locked up the 4 seed, and having nothing to gain or lose this past weekend, we got a pretty good preview of some of the players for next year's team with a boatload of affiliate call-ups. So that some of the regulars could get a rest and, you know, with the quick turnover from season to playoffs. All in all, I mean, I'll go through the players here in a minute, but all in all, I wasn't too high. I can't say I was disappointed with what I saw from the call-ups.
No, especially Saturday's game. They had a little bit of fire in them. Yeah, so yeah, it was fun to watch, and you know. You see this in situations where either you're not going to make the playoffs or you've got everything wrapped up. Yeah, especially Saturday. They came in and did some good work for us.
So both Friday and Saturday, we got to see forwards Brandon Svoboda and Justin Stupka from the Pens Elite program. Now, we have seen these guys earlier in the season, but one of the things that have been talked about in the past, these guys play together on a line with Pens Elite, have really good chemistry together, and then putting them together with Braden Clark. That was a interesting little line over the weekend.
Yeah, you know, Braden Clark has gotten a little bit of playing time as of lately. So, you know, he was kind of the veteran anchor, I guess, on the line. Yeah, really exciting to see.
Defenseman Mario DiMaggio with coming up from the St. Louis Blues AAA 18U. We've seen him a handful of times this season. He was somebody we really liked in tryout camp. He saw game action both Friday and Saturday. Also, defenseman Daniel Johnson from the Windy City Storm AAA 16U. He was someone we saw in tryout camp way back in June of last year. He was someone we liked. Maybe needed some more seasoning.
And he is just such a gifted skater.
Yeah, it's we've seen flashes of what he's capable of, so definitely over the next year or two, it's going to be interesting to see where his development goes. Also on Friday, Kyle Chevette got the start, Jacob Fowler got the night off, Nicholas Simo from the Oakland Junior Grizzlies 18U. Now, as far as I know, he's not on an affiliate list. I could be wrong. He was just kind of one of these out of nowhere kids. So I don't know if this was a later addition to the affiliate list or just somebody brought in maybe like as an e-bug situation. But
yeah, I mean, you have to have 2 goaltenders on the bench. I mean, I don't really know why you would bring in an e-bug rather than just trust the other guy and not play him. But maybe they just didn't want Fowler to have to ride on the bus, give him the entire night off, and it is what it is. So we'll see. Maybe Simo will be in camp.
All right, so another thing I wanted to bring up after the game on Saturday, the Phantoms did a full team autograph signing. I believe that was the first one this year where they did the full team. They've kind of done them in little patches here and there. We had talked about, I believe it was the last episode, we had talked about Tiernan Shouty and Travis Shouty, his twin brother who plays for Cedar Rapids. And I kept getting the sense there was a couple times during those games where those two were kind of side-eyeing each other, not in a friendly brother way. I mean, I could have been wrong, but I going through the autograph line when I got to Tiernan, I asked him about it. He said you will not see him and his brother fighting in a game. Most definitely, his mom will not be for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, best laid plans of mice and men. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes if these guys actually check the number of the guy they dropped the gloves with, and I noticed both brothers seem to have a pretty similar game, which isn't unsurprising. They're twins, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, you could see it maybe spontaneously getting to that point, but yeah, I don't really think that's probably ever going to happen. I don't think we'll get the Primo situation.
No Keith and Wayne Primo deal there. I had asked for you because on Saturday, Brendan Svoboda was wearing Winter Wallace's number 77. And, you had brought up the point, like, how weird does that have to be for Winter to be sitting up in the Phantom Suite, watching his number skating around on the ice. I asked him about that in the autograph line. And yes, that was very strange for him to see that. I guess I could ask Kyle Bettens the same thing from the Friday game, but
Garrett Wright on Saturday, Stepka was wearing, I think, Wright's number. So, yeah, I maybe Wright isn't married to that in the Phantoms uniform yet. I don't know. But, yeah, Winter's been wearing that 77 all season. And, I mean, it was sitting there. I know I was a little bit weirded out. So it occurred to me, man, what's it like for a player? Because, this happens in junior hockey. They're not, sometimes they run out of numbers.
Yeah, they don't have 99 jerseys at the ready for a 25-man roster and an 18-man affiliate list. So they only have so many numbers to go around. I will say being able to go through the autograph line, it was a nice little thing to do. With the playoffs and everything, I'll still be in the back area after the game, for the post-game pressers, whatever you want to call them, with Brad Patterson. So I might see one or two of these guys in and out of the locker room and everything like that. But being able to see all the guys together one last time was a nice little thing to be able to do.
Maybe we'll be able to see him for a cup celebration, but yeah.
We're not Lincoln. We're not... I know the Lincoln guys love putting the cart before the horse, but we're not going to go that far yet. We'll just see what happens as we go along. Definitely a couple things this season, as far as lessons I've learned with this being our first season, getting to kind of getting that backstage pass and having that kind of access. Number one, if you're wanting to interview a player on the night of a jersey auction, don't pick number 77. Speaking of Winter Wallace, because you're going to be waiting around for a while and eventually just giving up, because it kind of takes a while to get to the end of the roster, the higher numbers. Also, don't call out a name that you're going to interview someone and then completely forget that there's an autograph signing over the game, and they wouldn't be able to do it. I was hoping to get Jaden Grant this weekend, but he was a little busy with the signing. I did talk to him afterwards, going through the line, but yeah, weren't able to make it work this week. Hopefully, I was thinking I wasn't going to try to get interviews once the playoffs started, but I'm thinking maybe after the first round is over, either way, I'll try to get something with Jaden. So yeah, lessons learned for next season. All right, so coming up in this episode, we'll recap the final weekend with the U17s. We'll hear post-game comments from head coach Brad Patterson, and we'll also take a look at the final standings in the East and the West, as well as all the first-round matchups, and of course, we'll break down the Phantoms and Capitals. So after this first break, we're going to be taking a look back on what was a very interesting weekend with the NTDP U17s. You're listening to the Dump and Chase podcast right here on Western Reserve Radio.
Advanced Podiatry has been making happy feet in the Mahoning Valley for 35 years. Our offices are located in Cortland, Champion, Austintown, Columbiana, and Howland. Our Howland office has relocated to 8601 East Market Street and Howland Corners. Advanced Podiatry offers sports medicine and treatment plans for all ages. You can also request an appointment online by visiting our website at advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort.
And we're back. So coming into this final weekend of the regular season, the Phantoms already had the 4 seed locked up. Like we talked about, a bunch of affiliates getting called up, filling in on spots, giving some guys a rest. The U17s, on the other hand, they were still battling for that 6 seed, that last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference with Cedar Rapids. And I would say more of the seasoned members of the team were given the night off on Friday. So it was definitely a much younger roster on Friday than we saw on Saturday. But I mean, it was nice of Youngstown to give USA a little bit of hope before crushing it on Saturday.
Well, I think we kind of wanted to give them at least one chance to win one in their building. You got to throw the poor Golden Boys a bone there.
So, so Friday was just giving them hope. Saturday was just completely taking it away from them. So we'll start with the Friday game. Yeah, this game was played up in Plymouth. This was a 5-3 loss for the Phantoms. Starting out in the first period, just 46 seconds into the game, Team USA's Gabriel Perot, his 8th of the season, gave USA a 1-0 lead. At the 10:58 mark, Youngstown's William Whitelaw on the power play, his 2nd of the season from Kenta Isagai and Andrew Centrella tied the game at 1. This was a nice little goal. This was almost in Steven Sardarian's office. Maybe a couple feet more out from the goal line than where Steven scored his goal last week, but still right in that same area.
Yeah. Just an excellent snipe. And Kenta Isagai was throwing a little bit of a screen. He was in the area, causing a little havoc. Something we don't see too much from him, but yeah, he posted up on the power play, and Whitelaw put it on, and it snuck in. A pretty nice snipe. Maybe had a little bit more room than Sardarian did, but yeah, we'll call that goal inspired.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Kenta Isagai, he doesn't have a ton of weight to throw around.
Yeah.
But as the season's gone on, he has gotten better at throwing it around. So
yeah, and he was making a pest of himself in front of the net, and I thought for a second he might have got a touch on it and helped it along, but nope, it was pure Whitelaw.
So at the 16:32 mark, USA's Danny Wilson picked up his 5th of the season, giving USA a 2-1 lead, and that's how they would go into the second period. At the 9-minute mark of the second period, USA's Grayson Sawchin, his 7th of the season, gave USA a 3-1 lead. And then at the 17:10 mark, here he is again, 17:10, Kenta Isagai, his 10th of the season from Steven Sardarian. That cut USA's lead to 1 at 3-2, and that's how we would go to the third. So in the third period, at the 1:25 mark, Youngstown's Grant Porter, his 8th of the season, unassisted, tying the game at 3. I've said this on Twitter. I am now referring to this as a Porter hat trick. Porter stripped the puck from the defenseman, basically in the slot almost. Was able to put it into the back of the net, but not only did he put the puck in the net, he also put the defender and the goaltender in the net as well. So he got a 3-for there. So from now on, that is being referred to as a Porter hat trick. Just everybody falling down to stop the puck, and everybody except Grant Porter ends up in the net.
Yay. All righty.
And then getting late in the period at the 18:20 mark, USA's William Vogt, his 13th of the season, gave USA a 4-3 lead. Youngstown pulled the goaltender trying to tie the game. Pretty much right away, but 24 seconds later, Gabe Perot hit the empty net, his 9th of the season, and that gives us the final score of 5-3, Team USA getting the win. Shots in the game, USA 33, Youngstown 24. Youngstown was 1-for-2 on the power play, and USA was 0-for-4. The U17s' Carson Musser stopped 21 of 24 in the win, and Youngstown's Kyle Chevette stopped 28 of 32 in the loss. So Kyle finishes this season with 15 wins, 13 losses, 5 overtime losses, and 2 shootout losses, with a 3.33 goals against average and an .892 save percentage. So after the game on Friday, it ended up that Team USA and Cedar Rapids were tied for that final spot. Again, give them a little hope. Take it back away. So the game on Saturday, this was a 7-3 win for the Phantoms, and this was a fun one. I was a few minutes late and essentially missed the first 3 goals of this game.
Yeah, this was definitely one we complain about slow starts. There was no slow start here. 30 seconds in, and Kyle Beddens is batting him out of the air.
Yeah. I got into the arena. I was coming up the steps, and when I came up the steps, a minute had gone in the game. It was 1-0 Youngstown. So I missed the Bettens goal, which came at 30 seconds, his 17th of the season, from Jaden Grant and Trey Taylor. Then I sit down, and you guys are all like, oh, hey, you're late. Where have you been? So I turned my head away from the goal, and that's when Brandon Svoboda picked up his first USHL goal of the season at the 3:11 mark from TJ Schweighardt and Kyle Bettens, giving Youngstown a 2-0 lead.
I'm not even sure you were fully in your seat at that point.
I turned back around to see that because I missed it, and then I turned back around again to explain to you guys, oh, well, here's why I'm late. And 22 seconds later, at the 3:33 mark, Jaden Grant picks up his 17th of the season from Nick Williams and Anderson Trilla, giving Youngstown a 3-0 lead. And again, head was turned talking to you guys, was not looking at the goal. So yes, missed 3 goals just by being a few minutes late. And to note, it was at this point at 3 minutes and 33 seconds that USA's Carson Musser was pulled after only stopping 2 of the first 5 shots that he faced. For Sam Scopa, who I hadn't heard of before. It was the first time I had seen him, but
I look back, he's played a few USHL games for the under-17s, but not somebody who was on my radar. And that was a quick one. Scopa, goalie, elite prospects.
Yeah. So again, at this point, USA is still competing for a playoff spot. So then finally at the 13:58 mark, the first Phantoms goal of the game that I got to see, Braden Clark, his second of the season from Justin Stupka, who picked up his first USHL point with the assist, and Anderson Trilla. So the Phantoms go into the second period with a 4-0 lead. And then in the second period at the 3:52 mark, apparently the assist just wasn't enough. Justin Stupka, his first USHL goal from Braden Clark and Kenta Isagai, giving Youngstown a 5-0 lead. And that's how we would go to the third. And now we've reached the point I just really don't care. So USA scored 3 goals by varying players of varying skill and impressiveness of those goals, but they scored 3 of them. So Youngstown was up 5-3. And then at the 14:16 mark, Adam Ingram, his 26th of the season from Anderson Trilla and Grant Porter, giving Youngstown a 6-3 lead. Again, USA is competing for a playoff spot. With about 5 minutes left in the game and down by 3, they pull the goaltender. It didn't take long. The 15:53 mark, Grant Porter with an empty net goal, unassisted, giving Youngstown a 73 lead. And that was basically how the game would end. Now, in those last 10 minutes of the game, things started getting a little chippy. At one point, we saw a USA player wrestling on the ice with a referee.
Yeah.
And everyone I talked to seems to be of the opinion that the player did not realize he was wrestling with a referee, that maybe he thought it was another player.
Yeah, that was the only and I mean, I've gone back and rewatched it. It was kind of I'd say a mutual takedown.
Yeah.
So the ref wasn't like.
Well, I guess I should not referee linesman. I guess I should make that distinction.
You know, he didn't seem too upset. I mean, Caden Muir was escorted off the ice immediately. Yeah. Do not even look at the box.
Yeah.
So I don't know if how they will rule on this, but yeah, it was not good optics.
Now we're not doing, we won't be doing a 4-point segment in this episode, but I am going to give my favorite moment. And I think we're both going to agree on this. About 7 minutes left in the third period. I want to say somewhere around there, a little bit of a scrum after the whistle, right on the boards, right in front of us. Chase Patilla had somebody in a headlock. Yeah. I can't remember exactly who, but Chase had somebody in a headlock. They were squirming to get out and it wasn't working. And a bunch of you guys got up to the glass and started waving at the both of them because it's right in front of us. It's, a foot away. You guys started waving and Chase just kind of looked at us and just kind of like lowered his eyebrows and just gave a little smirk and nodded his head like, I got this. Because this guy was just squirming around, could not get out of this headlock.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, trying to, it was like wrestling your toddler. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Chase isn't the biggest guy, but yeah, he had a few pounds on this guy and he had him locked up good. And yeah, it was, this guy wasn't going to cause any trouble in the scrum. That's for sure.
Yeah, and just kind of giving us that little smirk.
Yeah.
Looking through the glass, just giving us that little smirk. Like, I got this, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah. We would have just wave at him, send him some happy thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, getting back to the actual game here. So shots in the game, Youngstown 39, USA 28. Youngstown was 0 for 5 on the power play. USA was 1 for 2. USA's Carson Musser, again, only stopped 2 of 5. Sam Scopa stopped 30 of 33 in relief. And since he gave up the game-winning goal, he took the loss. So the guy who gave up 3 goals in 3 minutes gets the no decision.
Yeah, well, yeah, Scopa gave up 3 goals in most of the game, so I thought he played okay. I mean, obviously better than Musser on the night.
Yeah.
I've seen far worse out of USA goaltenders who, have gone on to higher levels. So not a bad night for the kid all in all.
Youngstown's Jacob Fowler, he stopped 25 of 28 in the win. So he, in 18 appearances this season, he finished with 11 wins, 4 losses, and a shootout loss with a 2.18 goals against average, a 927 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. So after this game, I asked Coach Brad Patterson about what it meant for him to complete a full 62 game schedule, especially after the way the last couple of seasons have gone. And this is what he had to say.
Yeah, it's probably haven't had time to reflect too much on it. 2 years ago, everything was so sudden. We're getting ready kind of for the playoff situation, and the season gets shut down as the whole world does. And then last year, obviously, not the year that we wanted. But I think the experiences of going through that, helped everybody that was involved. Our leadership corps has been great this year. Some of those guys were here through some turbulent times last year, and been able to steer the ship in the right direction and lead by example. And I think that's a huge thing. Our goal, everyone's goal at the start of the year, right, is to win a Clark Cup. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to compete for it. And that was what we set out to do, not just to make playoffs, but to give yourselves an opportunity to compete for that. And I think obviously we start here on Monday. I know the guys are excited, and we're probably going into Friday's game thinking about Monday. So those are hard games to get through, but I'm definitely excited. I know the group is, and we'll prepare the guys the right way and be ready to go Monday.
So with that, we're going to step aside for a minute. When we come back, we'll break down the 2021-22 USHL playoffs and dig into this first round matchup with the Phantoms and the Capitals. So stick around right here on Western Reserve Radio.
The Dump and Chase podcast is the unofficial fan podcast of the Youngstown Phantoms, but it's not always about hockey.
Have you ever played golf?
No, you should see me on the driving range. It's scary.
I haven't played in a few years, but I think the last time I played, I shot like an 83.
On 9 or 18?
On 9.
Still not bad compared to me.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been 80, but the windmill kept getting in the way.
The Dump and Chase podcast, every Wednesday at 5:06 on Western Reserve Radio.
And we're back. So 62 games of the regular season has been played by all teams. Right, I'm not even going to hit the applause button. I think we'll actually give the physical applause here. Congratulations to the USHL, all the member teams. 62 game season, just a couple of hiccups, maybe earlier in the season, but managed to get through it.
And yeah, I was going to say everything that got postponed, called no contest. Yeah, that's the phrasing, I guess. Got made up, and yeah, that's kind of a miracle in junior hockey, I think.
All right, so yeah, season is over. The standings are locked in, the seedings are locked in. So real quick, we're going to start with the Western Conference, since we never talk about them, but. So this is going to go quick, but as far as the Western Conference, the number 1 seed, the Tri-City Storm, and the number 2 seed, the Sioux City Musketeers, both getting first round byes. The 3 seed Lincoln Stars will be hosting the 6 seed Waterloo Blackhawks. This season's series was won by Lincoln. Lincoln took 5 of the 6 games. The 4th seed Omaha will be hosting the 5th seed Fargo Force, and Omaha won this season's series with 6 wins, 2 losses, and an overtime loss. I would love to sit here and make any type of prediction about the Western Conference, but I won't. I just don't know enough, and apparently they've been eating their young over there all season, so...
Yeah, and it's the playoffs, so,
yeah.
I mean, any prediction you could make is pretty much null and void, I guess.
Yeah, Tri-City learned that last year with Fargo sweeping them in the first round. Youngstown learned that a few years back with Dubuque. That was the season after the Clark Cup Finals appearance, and a lot of people going into the playoffs the next year had Youngstown penciled in for the finals again, because Youngstown offensively was actually even better than the team that went to the finals the year before. The Phantoms got swept by Dubuque in that first round. So in the grand scheme of thing, no, the regular season, when it comes to the playoffs, the regular season means nothing.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the Eastern Conference. Chicago locked up that first seed after their weekend series with Muskegon. So Chicago and the number 2 seed Dubuque Fighting Saints will get the first round byes. The 3 seed Muskegon Lumberjacks will be hosting the 6 seed Cedar Rapids Rough Riders. Muskegon won that season series with 4 wins and 2 losses. And of course, the 4 seed, the Youngstown Phantoms, will host the 5th seed Madison Capitals. And Madison won this season series. On their end, they went 6-3. On Youngstown's end, we were 3-4-2 against the Capitals. Right away, we're going to get into a little bit here as far as the Madison Capitals. Right off the bat, the interesting point, if you look at their top scorers on the team, 2 of their 3 of their top scorers were defensemen. That was Luke Mittelstadt and Ben Dexheimer.
Yeah. I mean, Luke Mittelstadt, obviously he comes from good hockey stock. Both of his brothers have played in the USHL. He has a brother on Green Bay's roster this year. Casey's playing, I believe, for the Buffalo Sabres still. Yeah, and out of all of them, I think he's the most solid player at this level. Dexheimer, more of an offensive defenseman. Mittelstadt can play pretty solid defense as well as lead the team in offense. Dexheimer, he was, I think, a -13 on the season. Not real square on defense. So that's something I think we can exploit there.
So defenseman in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Then you start talking about the forwards, their top scoring forwards, and it's a formidable bunch. Kyle Kukkonen, Jake Dunlap, and Tyler Haskins.
Yeah. Kukkonen, he's an NHL draft pick. I think he's Anaheim. I'll have to look that up later. Anyway, he's a skill guy. He likes to dangle. He can pass. He can shoot. Somebody you've got to keep an eye on at all times. Dunlap, he's more of a gritty guy, I'd say. Goes to the net, makes himself kind of a nuisance. Not a fun guy to play against. We'll have to deal with him. And then you got like role players. Yeah, Haskins, Reed Pabich, who's been with the team forever, guys like that. So they do have guys who can score. So we gotta mind that. But I think our defense has improved dramatically over the season. It's gone from good to great. So I think we're built for the playoffs for something like this.
Yeah, and then you can also bring up Reed Pabich, of course. Led the team in plus minus. They have some forwards. They have some talent. It just, again, it goes back to what we've talked about all season. Madison's been streaky.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not something you want in the playoffs.
No. They started the season off hot. They kind of cooled, I believe at one point they did get up to the top of the Eastern Conference and then celebrated by tumbling right back down it. Definitely towards the end, they did get a couple of wins there towards the end of the season, but not. I don't think they had the ending to the season that they wanted to have. Again, this is all wishful thinking. You just kind of hope that, based on their patterns during the season, that you hope that right now they're in a bit of a downswing. But again, the playoffs are just a whole nother animal. So
yeah, and with this being the first time the team's been in the playoffs, it's going to be somewhat an emotional thing for them. So yeah. We'll see how that plays for them.
And then also with Madison, the goaltending, Simon Latkozy, spent last year with the Chicago Steel, is in his second season with Madison. He started out the season great. He's had success against Youngstown this year. Numbers really started taking a dip in the last couple months of the season. But yeah, he's someone the Phantoms will have, compared to the regular season, he's someone the Phantoms will have to do a better job of solving.
Yeah, and in the past, I've thought that maybe, he has been a little overrated in his career, but he has made improvements. And yeah, we haven't really managed to solve him well this season. So I think the key there is we're just going to have to get bodies in front of him.
And then their backup goaltender, Mason Kaczynski, he came over to Madison in a trade with Omaha in January. He has played 10 games for them this season. I would say numbers-wise, he's been fairly comparable to Latkozy.
Yeah. Again, not stellar numbers, but serviceable. And if the series goes to 3 games, both teams will probably have to, play both goalies. This will be interesting.
Again, we keep saying, the regular season doesn't matter, but just to fill time here, pretty much is what we're doing. The season history between these two teams, they played on October 8th and 9th. Youngstown was outscored 12-1 in these 2 games. This was not a fun road trip for the Phantoms at all. I'm having PTSD flashbacks of this weekend now as I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, being that was early in the season, we were having doubts at that point. Yeah. There were concerns.
So these teams in November played 3 games against each other in 8 days. Youngstown did end up winning 2 of the 3 of those games. And then February 4th and 5th in Madison, those were the 2 games that Youngstown lost, both of those games in overtime. Both of those games, the Phantoms were leading there in the last few minutes of the third period, gave up the tying goal, and then again lost the game in overtime. So that was a lot of deja vu that weekend that I'd like to forget. And then March 4th and 5th, those were here at the Cavelli Center. Youngstown and Madison split that series. Madison completely outplaying Youngstown at the beginning of the season. Basically the rest of the games in this series were a lot tighter.
Yeah, those first 2, again, we had some concerns. Those got addressed. I think those 2 overtime losses were another kind of wake up for the team at that point. Those were games we should have won, in my opinion. As long as I think we, learn from the mistakes we made in those games, we should have a good series. However, playoffs come around and things change. So,
and with that, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this episode and look ahead to all of our potential futures here. You're listening to the Dump and Chase podcast round 1 playoff preview right here on Western Reserve Radio. And we're back, and that will do it for this episode. As far as the future is concerned, fingers crossed, we're hoping there will be a second round to cover. If that's the case, we will have another episode out previewing that by the end of this week. If not, as much as I don't want to talk about it, but if that ends up not being the case, then we will be back next Wednesday with the season recap episode, and then we'll be gearing up for the draft recap episode after that. So hopefully we can put those off for as long as possible, but that's what the scheduling looks like right now. Once again, we want to thank our incredible sponsors, Advanced Podiatry, for appointment information, office location, services provided, and everything else. Check out advancedpodiatry.com. As always, you can hear us on Western Reserve Radio. The scheduling's a little goofy right now. Typically, it's every Wednesday at 5:06 on Western Reserve Radio. Which you can check out on the TuneIn and Live 365 apps, the Western Reserve Radio social media sites, and the Youngstown Facebook page. You can also hear us on YouTube and pretty much wherever you like to listen to your favorite podcasts. Now, all of these links can be found on our Linktree page. The link to that can be found in the description of however you have chosen to listen to this episode. And of course, follow us on social media. Those links can be found on there as well as Instagram. I'm starting to making another attempt to getting Instagram going with the podcast. So beyond that, Justin, people always want to hear predictions. So basically right here, I'll be giving both of our predictions for the first round here. Yeah, we don't do that. Stop asking. I think we learned that lesson early on.
Yeah,
where we don't make predictions. Whatever happens is going to happen. We're not predicting one way or another.
Certainly not playoffs or early rosters.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for listening in. The playoffs are here and we will be here to cover every minute of it. So for Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. Thank you for tuning in to the Dump and Chase podcast. Bye now.